Public servants who have been complaining that their salaries are too low will be getting pay increases from April this year. This was disclosed by Minister of Finance Washington Mizik, who said government is now in a position to increase salaries because the economy is performing better than ever. Honorable Mizik was speaking during a media briefing in the arrivals and baggage area of the Providenciales International Airport on Wednesday, February 4th. The press conference was held to publicize the strong financial performance recorded by the TCI government in the third quarter of its financial year, which is the period between October and December 2014. Here's what he had to say about the salary increases.
There was a pay grade exercise done previous to the current government coming to office, which had suggested something between $4 and $5 million of additional expenditure was needed to regrade public service so that they were adequately compensated and that people were in the right grade based on the performance requirements of the positions that they were expected to hold and to perform at. The government, we did not have the money until now in order to do so. And now that the economy has rebounded and the government has the money, a decision was made to implement the regrading exercise. And as I said, in terms of some new posts in the regrading itself, we are spending an extra $9 million on public service salaries or pay. So there's been a whole regrading exercise that is already done. So persons would already know or have where they are in the grading system, but also people like the immigration officers and customs office at job entry level will be getting a far better income, a far better wage or salary as a result of that regrading.
The finance minister said that as the economy continues to improve, he expects that more jobs will be created in the public and private sector.
Well, there are some new jobs within the public service itself, but there will be new jobs created because of the drawdown on the projects. We have a number of capital projects, roads and buildings to erect and major refurbishment to be undertaken. These obviously will create jobs, public sector jobs. If a major contract is let, it would require labor and skilled and unskilled labor to service those contracts. So it's difficult for me to say, but there certainly will be some new jobs created from the government side, and I believe there are significant new jobs that will be created by the private sector.
Mizik, who was a former chief minister, also told reporters that landing agencies were lining up to offer the Turks and Caicos Islands financial assistance with financing the balance of the $260 million loan, which expires in 2016.
It's 2 years ago, or just over 2 years ago, when the government took over the government, the operation, the running of this country, we were in extremely dire straits. And of course, in 2009, when the Constitution was suspended, we had a situation where no one was prepared to lend us any money whatsoever. We are in a situation, based on all the hard work that this government has done, we're now in a situation where lenders are not knocking themselves over, jockeying for position, putting themselves in line to be able to refinance whatever debt that is left in 2016. I think that's a very enviable position to be in when you look at what's happening over the world. If you look at the worst situation in Europe with Greece and even if you look at our neighbors in the United States, the last projections are that the U.S. economy will be growing at 2.3%, which is less than what was projected a quarter ago, 3 months ago. So I think, generally speaking, the the economy of the Turks and Caicos, I think we can say with certainty that the economy has rebounded.
The construction sector is also expected to generate many more jobs in the coming months, according to the finance minister.
From where I'm standing or sitting, I see a lot of new construction. We may not have seen any, apart from the Shore Club, we haven't seen any major resort construction taking place as yet. Government is still working to ensure that one or two of these happens within the next 18 months. But if you look at the level of private villas and private homes and other construction activities taking place, it is having a profound effect on our budget.
Staff from the Immigration and Customs departments received lots of praise for their work from the Minister of Finance.
And the reason why I've chosen to come here for this press conference today is because the immigration and the customs and all of those frontline people have so much to do with driving this economy, because tourism is the engine of growth. It's the driver. And those people who work in this airport and at the seaports, who are frontline people, it's very important that they are appreciated. And this is just a small token of coming here. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of people here at the moment working, but this was very deliberate on my part, because I realized the difficulties that they have actually had to endure over the last several years in order to help us to build a strong economy. And I think government is going to start to begin to recognize that in the regrading exercise. I think the public service regrading exercise is costing the government close to $9 million overall. So we are at a stage now where we are in a position to start to focus on the people who work in this economy, in the public sector, who is responsible for collecting revenue and who's responsible for making, helping government to function, and they will finally be recognized by having their pay scales regraded.
Overall, the Minister of Finance said he was quite pleased with the performance of the Turks and Caicos economy, and he gave some figures to support the growth which the country is experiencing.
For the quarter ending the end of December, the third quarter ending December 31st, government recorded an operating surplus of $16.7 million. This was a favorable variance of something like $11.5 million against our budget, and something like $5.2 million against the same results, the results for the same period last year. Now, the total recurrent revenue for the quarter was just under $60 million, and that was 15% above the budgeted amount for $48.8 million, or 23% above the last year's outturn of $45.4 million. The recurrent expenditure came in around $37.5 million. That was 9% or $3.8 million below the figure we were budgeted for, and something like $1.7 million below the outturn of $39.2 million for the same period last year. The non-recurrent expenditure was $2.1 million and came in at 31%, or $900,000 above the budget, while being above last year's outturn by 14%, or around $200 million. The year-to-date results, and this is for the 3 quarters for the year 14-15, the year results showed an operating surplus of around $60.6 million compared to about $39.4 million last year. If you were to calculate that, that puts us around $20 million above the results for the same period last year. And about 21.2 million above the budgeted figure for this period. The year-to-date recurrent revenue outturn was around 178 million, 25 million, or 17% above the budgeted outturn of 152.8, and 39 million, or 28% above the same period last year. The recurrent expenditure to date was 114.3 million, which resulted in a favorable variance of 12.4 million, or 10%, when compared with the budget outturn of 126, when the budget outturn of 126 million, which gave us a marginal increase of something like 1% above the results for the same period last year.
I'm Tadleen Dafflin, and thanks for watching this Sun TV News Alert.